Every parent buying baby food is making a decision they believe is straightforward. The product is labeled for babies. It is sold in a supermarket they trust. It has been approved for sale. It must be safe. That assumption is understandable and largely correct in terms of acute safety. Baby food in Britain is regulated, and the products on supermarket shelves are not going to cause immediate harm to the children eating them. But safe in the regulatory minimum sense and genuinely good for your baby are not the same thing. And the gap between those two standards is wider in the UK baby food market than most parents have any reason to suspect. The concerns running through the category fall into several distinct areas. Sugar content, including both added sugar and the naturally occurring sugars that result from manufacturing processes that concentrate fruit to extreme sweetness. Misleading labeling that implies vegetable content while delivering predominantly fruit-based products with token amounts of the vegetables pictured on the packaging. Salt levels inappropriate for infant kidneys that are still developing. Pesticide residues in non-organic products that accumulate from multiple products consumed daily by a child with a lower body weight than any adult. The presence of heavy metals including arsenic, lead, and cadmium detected in independent testing of commercial baby foods at levels that raise concern when consumed regularly. And the longer-term issue of flavor training, where intensely sweet commercial baby food creates expectations that make plain vegetables and whole foods less palatable as the child grows. Behind these formulation concerns sits a commercial reality. Baby food is an emotionally charged category where parents are highly motivated to believe they are doing the right thing. That motivation creates a market where premium positioning, natural imagery, and reassuring language about developmental stages and nutritional completeness can command significant price premiums over products that may deliver comparable or superior actual nutrition. The brands that do this most effectively are not always the ones delivering the best food. Today, I am going through 9 UK baby food brands and products where the ingredient quality, sugar content, labeling transparency, or documented safety concerns raise issues every parent deserves to know about, and finishing with 2 that have genuinely earned the trust their positioning implies. Starting with Heinz baby food range. Heinz is perhaps the most instinctively trusted name in British baby food. The brand has been producing food for infants for decades, and the cultural familiarity of the Heinz name in British households extends naturally to the baby food category without scrutiny. That trust has been examined by independent organizations and found to be misplaced in specific and documented ways. Action on Sugar, the campaign group that analyses sugar content across food categories, has repeatedly identified Heinz baby food products among those with concerning sugar levels. Some Heinz baby food pouches contain sugar levels per 100 grams that exceed what would be acceptable in products for adults, despite being labeled for infants whose taste preferences and metabolic responses to sugar are still developing. The sugar in many Heinz baby food products is not primarily added sugar in the traditional sense. It comes from concentrated fruit purees and fruit juice concentrates that are used as both sweetening agents and flavor maskers. The regulatory treatment of these concentrated fruit sugars as different from added sugar is a labeling convention that does not reflect the metabolic reality. Concentrated apple juice added to a vegetable puree delivers sugar to an infant's system in the same way that added sugar does, regardless of how it is categorized on the label. The vegetable content claimed on several Heinz products is supported by front-of-pack imagery that implies a greater proportion of vegetables than the ingredient list reflects. A product picturing carrots, peas, and sweet potato prominently on the packaging may contain these vegetables in quantities where fruit puree or fruit juice concentrate is the dominant flavor and the primary caloric source. Then there is Ella's Kitchen. Ella's Kitchen is the brand most strongly associated with the premium natural baby food movement in Britain. The brightly colored pouches, the child-friendly font, the language of pure and natural and no nasty bits, and the founder narrative of a father making better food for his child have made Ella's Kitchen the aspirational choice for health-conscious parents who are willing to pay more for what they believe is a better product. The concern with Ella's Kitchen is specifically the sugar content of their fruit-based pouches and the gap between the natural wholesome positioning and the actual sweetness levels delivered. First Steps Nutrition Trust, an independent UK nutritional organization focused on infant and toddler feeding, has published analysis of Ella's Kitchen products finding that many of their most popular pouches contain sugar levels that are high relative to what is appropriate for infants. The fruit-forward formulation that makes Ella's products palatable to babies also makes them sweet to a degree that may establish flavor preferences that work against the transition to varied, whole food eating. The pouch format itself is a secondary concern that has been raised by pediatric dietitians and feeding specialists independently of the specific brand. Sucking puree from a pouch does not develop the oral motor skills involved in spoon feeding, does not allow the infant to see and smell the food they are consuming, and does not develop the self-regulation of intake that comes from eating from a bowl. Ella's Kitchen is not uniquely responsible for the pouch format, but as the dominant brand in the pouch category, the concerns about that format are most relevant to how their products are typically consumed. Ella's Kitchen was acquired by the Hain Celestial Group, an American food conglomerate, in 2013. The brand identity has been preserved, but the ownership structure has changed from the independent founder-led model that created the original positioning. At number 3, Cow & Gate. Cow & Gate is owned by Nutricia, which is itself owned by Danone, one of the world's largest food corporations. The brand is one of the 2 dominant infant formula brands in Britain alongside SMA, and their baby food range benefits from the trust that formula brand recognition builds with new parents. The infant formula business creates a specific dynamic in the baby food category. Parents who use Cow & Gate formula, often from birth, are psychologically anchored to the brand by the time they begin introducing solid foods. That anchor creates a readiness to trust Cow & Gate baby food without the scrutiny a new brand would face. Independent testing of Cow & Gate baby food products has found results including elevated sugar levels in fruit-based products and sodium levels in savory products that approach levels that nutritional organizations consider inappropriate for infants. The NHS and the Scientific Advisory Committee on Nutrition both provide guidance on salt intake for infants, noting that infant kidneys cannot process sodium as efficiently as adult kidneys, and that excessive early salt exposure can affect blood pressure development and salt preference. Some Cow & Gate products contain sodium at levels that approach the upper range of what is considered appropriate for the age groups they are marketed to. The European Commission's SACN committee has raised concerns about the overall sweetness of commercial complementary foods across the category, with Cow & Gate products represented within the broader market that prompted those concerns. Moving on to Organics. Organics positions itself as the organic baby food brand, with the assumption built into the name that organic certification provides a meaningful quality guarantee. The organic certification is genuine and verifiable. The question is whether organic certification is sufficient assurance of overall product quality in the ways that matter most for infant nutrition. The organic snack range, which includes products like goodies, rice cakes, fruit bars, and various finger food products, has been the subject of specific nutritional criticism from First Steps Nutrition Trust and Action on Sugar. Many organic snack products derive the majority of their caloric content from concentrated fruit sugars. The organic certification of those concentrated fruit sugars does not change their metabolic impact on an infant consuming them. The rice-based snack products in the Organics range raise a specific concern that applies to the wider category of rice products for infants. Inorganic arsenic is naturally present in rice at higher concentrations than in most other grains, and it concentrates further during the production of rice flour and rice cakes. Inorganic arsenic is a known carcinogen and has documented developmental effects at relatively low exposure levels. The Food Standards Agency has set specific guidance limiting rice drink consumption for children under 5 and has raised concerns about rice-based products in infant diets, particularly where rice is consumed multiple times daily across multiple product types. Organic farming does not reduce the natural arsenic content of rice. An organic rice cake contains the same inorganic arsenic as a conventionally produced one. At number 5, Aldi Mamia range. Aldi's Mamia range is positioned as the value option in the baby food market, and in several product categories, including nappies, the Mamia range has performed competitively in independent comparative testing. The baby food products are a different matter. The cost compression required to produce baby food at Aldi's price points creates predictable pressures on ingredient quality, sourcing transparency, and the concentration of nutritionally beneficial ingredients relative to cheaper bulking components. Mamia baby food products provide limited sourcing information. The origin of fruit and vegetables used is not consistently disclosed. Whether produce is grown under standards that minimize pesticide residue is not communicated. For a food consumed multiple times daily by infants whose body weight relative to exposure means any contaminant has a greater proportional impact than on adults, the absence of sourcing transparency is a more significant issue than it would be for comparable adult products. The sugar content in Mamia fruit-based products follows the same pattern seen throughout the category. Concentrated fruit sources dominate the ingredient lists of the more popular products, delivering sweetness levels that are commercially effective at making babies willing to eat the product but nutritionally questionable in terms of flavor training and sugar exposure. Then there is Hip Organic. Hip Organic is a German brand with a strong organic credential story and a loyal following among British parents who have investigated baby food options more carefully than most. The organic certification is among the most stringent in the industry, and HIP's farming standards, including their own certified organic farms and strict supplier requirements, are genuinely impressive relative to most of the category. The concern with HIP is specific and does not undermine the overall quality positioning, but is worth naming for completeness. Some HIP baby food products, particularly in the dessert and fruit range, contain sugar or glucose syrup as added ingredients rather than relying solely on fruit content for sweetness. In a brand positioned at the quality end of the market and trusted for its strictness on other ingredient criteria, the presence of added sugar in some products is inconsistent with the broader brand promise. HIP's infant formula range has been subject to the general concerns raised by the WHO and UNICEF about the marketing of complementary foods by infant formula manufacturers, where brand familiarity built through formula use can direct parents toward that brand's solid food range without the independent evaluation they would apply to a brand they had no prior relationship with. At number 7, Piccolo. Piccolo is a relatively recent entrant to the UK baby food market, positioned as a premium Mediterranean-inspired baby food brand with an emphasis on flavor variety and exposure to a wide range of tastes in early infancy. The concept is nutritionally sound. Early and repeated exposure to varied flavors including bitter, savory, and complex tastes is well supported by research as a predictor of less fussy eating behavior in later childhood. The concern with Piccolo is the gap between the sophisticated positioning and the actual sweetness levels in several of their products. Independent nutritional analysis has found that a significant proportion of Piccolo's range relies heavily on fruit content for both palatability and caloric density, with the Mediterranean flavor variety sometimes delivered through flavoring rather than through genuinely distinct vegetable and herb profiles in the quantities the branding implies. The price point, which is among the highest in the mainstream baby food category, creates a specific consumer expectation of quality that the ingredient lists do not always fully support. Parents paying a premium for Mediterranean variety and early flavor education deserve to examine whether the actual fruit-to-vegetable ratio in the products they are buying reflects the variety the branding promises. At number 8, Aptamil growing up products and toddler snacks. Aptamil is a Nutricia brand sitting alongside Cow and Gate in the Danone portfolio, with a strong positioning in the premium formula market. The growing up product range, which includes toddler milks, snack products, and complementary food lines, extends the formula brand into the solid food category in ways that have attracted criticism from nutritional organizations. Growing up milks, also known as toddler milks or follow-on milks for the 12 months and above age group, have been specifically criticized by the Scientific Advisory Committee on Nutrition, the NHS, and WHO as unnecessary products that are marketed in ways that exploit parental anxiety and formula brand loyalty. The NHS position is that toddler milks are not needed and that full-fat cow's milk is appropriate from 12 months. The marketing of growing up milks uses language about developmental support and added nutrients that nutritional organizations consider misleading, given that a balanced diet including cow's milk provides these nutrients without the additional cost or sugar content of a specialized toddler drink. The broader Aptamil snack and complementary food range carries the same premium positioning and trust associations as the formula brand, while some products have sugar contents that nutritional organizations would consider inappropriate for the age groups they target. And the 9th product category worth naming is the broader rice-based baby snack market, including products from multiple brands. This is not a single brand concern, but a category-level issue that affects Organics, Heinz, Farley's, and most other mainstream baby snack brands simultaneously. The inorganic arsenic content of rice and rice-derived products is a documented public health concern, specifically relevant to infants and young children, who consume rice products at a higher rate per kilogram of body weight than adults, and whose developing nervous systems and brains are more vulnerable to the developmental effects of arsenic exposure. The Food Standards Agency's own testing has found inorganic arsenic in rice-based products marketed for infants, at levels that prompted formal guidance advising parents to vary the grain-based foods offered to young children, rather than relying predominantly on rice-based products. That guidance implies that the current level of rice-based product consumption in British infants, driven by the extensive marketing of rice cakes and rice-based finger foods as ideal first foods, is not optimal. Most mainstream baby food brands rely heavily on rice as a base ingredient in their snack and finger food ranges because it is well tolerated by most infants, hypoallergenic relative to wheat, and easy to produce in the shapes and textures that work for young children developing their ability to self-feed. The commercial logic is sound. The cumulative arsenic exposure of infants consuming multiple rice-based products daily across several brands warrants more attention from parents than the marketing of those products encourages. Two baby food brands have genuinely earned the trust their positioning implies. Little Freddy is a British brand producing certified organic baby food with several characteristics that distinguish it meaningfully from the 9 brands discussed above. The brand uses cold blend technology for some products rather than the high heat processing used in conventional baby food production. High temperature sterilization is necessary for shelf stability, but destroys heat-sensitive nutrients, including some vitamins, and preserves others. Cold blend processing, used in combination with refrigerated distribution rather than ambient shelf storage, allows for a product closer in nutritional profile to freshly prepared food while maintaining appropriate food safety standards. The ingredient lists are genuinely short and genuinely transparent. The vegetables and fruits named on the packaging appear at ingredient proportions that reflect their front-of-pack prominence. The sugar content is lower than comparable products from the mainstream brands discussed above because the formulation is designed around nutritional goals rather than palatability optimization. The sourcing is independently certified organic through standards that require verification rather than self-reporting. Pesticide residue is a meaningful concern in baby food, given the multiple daily servings and the lower body weight of infants relative to adults. Organic certification does not eliminate pesticide residue entirely, since some organic permitted pesticides do appear in produce, but it significantly reduces the synthetic pesticide load relative to conventionally produced food. Little Freddy publishes nutritional analysis for their products, including sugar content per serving in ways that are more transparent than most of the category. Their savory range includes products with genuinely savory flavor profiles that support the development of tolerance for non-sweet tastes, in a way that heavily fruit-sweetened products do not. The best baby food currently available in British retail is Ween Green combined with Babes. Babes is a brand built explicitly around the principle that early vegetable exposure and low sugar content in complementary foods predicts better eating behavior in later childhood. The brand was founded by a nutritional therapist, and the formulation reflects nutritional science, rather than commercial palatability optimization. Babes products have consistently lower sugar content than comparable products from any of the 9 brands discussed above. The vegetable content in savory products is genuinely high, with vegetables representing the primary ingredient by weight, rather than a supporting component behind fruit puree. The ingredient lists are short, transparent, and reflect the product description accurately. Independent nutritional analysis by First Steps Nutrition Trust has rated Babes products more favorably than most commercially available alternatives for age-appropriate sugar levels and vegetable content. That external validation from an organization with no commercial relationship with the brand is meaningful in a category where brand positioning frequently overstates nutritional quality. The products do not use the pouch format as the primary delivery method, which addresses the developmental concerns about suction feeding raised earlier. Bowl and spoon feeding with Bebe's products supports the oral motor development and self-regulation that pediatric feeding specialists consider important in the complementary feeding period. Bebe's is available through Ocado, independent health food retailers, and their own website. It costs more than mainstream baby food brands. The price reflects genuinely different formulation priorities rather than premium packaging around a comparable product. The practical guidance for parents navigating this category is straightforward and does not require remembering specific brand names. Read the ingredient list rather than the front of the pack. Ingredients are listed in descending order of weight. If fruit puree, fruit juice concentrate, or apple puree appears before or alongside vegetables in a product that pictures vegetables prominently, the flavor profile is fruit-led regardless of the imagery. Check the total sugar content per 100 grams and compare it between products. Action on Sugar recommends that complementary foods for infants contain no more than 10 grams of sugar per 100 grams. Many products across multiple mainstream brands exceed this. The number is on the label and takes 5 seconds to read. Avoid added sugar in any form, including glucose syrup, fruit juice concentrate, and grape juice in products for infants under 12 months. The NHS and WHO are explicit that added sugar has no places in foods for infants. Vary grain-based products to reduce rice-specific arsenic exposure. Oat-based, millet-based, and other grain alternatives provide the texture and tolerance benefits of rice without the specific arsenic concern. Consider making simple cooked purees and finger foods alongside commercial products. A steamed sweet potato, a piece of soft-cooked carrot, or a ripe banana mashed with a fork costs a fraction of a commercial baby food pouch and provides genuinely fresh, unprocessed food with zero processing residue concerns. Commercial baby food has genuine utility for convenience and travel. It does not need to be the primary source of complementary nutrition for most families. Subscribe to TruthCart UK for more honest analysis of the products that matter most. No affiliate arrangements, no sponsored conclusions, just the ingredient reading that helps you make genuinely informed choices for your family.